Hail to the chief we have chosen for the nation. Hail to the chief we have... We chose that guy? From Andrew Jackson to President Nixon, the United States has reaped an interesting list of characters to run its distinctive nation. One built on liberty and all things fried. It brings to mind the story of William Taft getting stuck in his own bathtub, but that's something to discuss in your next history class. With the madness of the 2016 election, it's kind of hard not to imagine a certain cartoon characters taking the role of Commander-in-Chief, and we're here to help you to do just that. Hey guys, I'm JD with ChannelFrederator, and today we've elected the top 10 cartoon characters who would make great presidents of the nation. We've chosen these characters based on bravery, perseverance, unwavering integrity, and hit or miss relatability. So grab up your star-spangled hats and your Tylenol, and let's get started. Number 10, Skips from Regular Show. Nothing like a big ol' Yeti to make you feel safe, huh? Skips is that type of leader you don't hear from, but you know they're getting mad work finished due to their heaps of experience, and you don't have to worry about him choking in office due to his unexplainable immortality. Whenever something goes wrong, Skips is there to magically fix it, no matter how annoying the situation might be. Say the world goes into full-on war. Skips will be there to calmly explain the magic of reversing it. It's just that simple. Not to mention, he has an extensive knowledge of history because he's lived and seen it all. Well, down to the 18th century at least. Far back enough he's gotten the gist of 1776. Another issue Skips would tackle well is the environment, because he's been the groundskeeper of the park since 1873 and hasn't pursued a different career since. Maybe the flowers and trees can explain his calm demeanor, in which case the White House gardens would get some great upkeep during his presidency. Just whatever you do, don't get Rigby to do it. Number 9, Arnold from Hey Arnold. Whenever you're in a tight spot, the number one go-to man who is calm, nice, optimistic, and a smart idealist is Arnold Shortman. He's a man of the people, representing his town and all of its civilians with his humbleness and uncompromising character. You could say he's the modern-day Bernie Sanders, taking a stand for the middleman no matter what their class or ethnicity may be. In the respects of political matters, Arnold would work well in the context of civil liberties, seeing how he's chosen to protect areas of Hillwood for the sake of history and sentimentality, as seen in the episode Save the Tree. Not only that, but he's known to pacify two conflicting perspectives, like in the episode The Old Building, when his grandmother and Ernie disagree on the demolition of the Circle Theater. Acts like these demonstrate great communication skills, which is important when establishing agreements with different countries. No matter who you are or where you're from, Arnold's the guy to count on. Also, if being president isn't his thing, he'll do just fine being first man. Helga. Number 8, Butters from South Park. Leopold Butters Stotch is a presidential candidate built on decency and complexity. He would be the first closet bisexual nominee and candidate to run in the race, and one with a mild stutter. Like, imagine those speeches. Gee whiz. Despite all his quirks, Butters would bring back the courtesy lost in politics. Not to mention, he does have a bit of a harsher side, as seen on The Ungroundable when he avoids punishment and rebels against his parents. It would be a good suggestion to put Cartman as his VP, because although Butters is quite often the accomplice of Cartman's schemes, he'd have someone there to talk back to Congress and put down their more or less awful ideas. It also doesn't give Cartman the ultimate leverage to take over the nation and eradicate all the gingers. In the end, Butters as president would be a strong asset in regards to relations with Mexico, since he's somewhat of a celebrity there. Going by the name Mantequilla as seen on The Last of the Mexicans, he would also act as good agency for issues like immigration. Well, he crossed the border to get into Mexico, but we'll just pretend it was the other way around. Number 7, Mabel from Gravity Falls. This nation is better than perfection. Or so that's what Mabel would say if she took the seat as Miss President. We received a glimpse of Mabel's leadership skills in Weirdmageddon 2, Escape from Reality, when she was the mayor of Mabelland and decreed there were no rules, except one, which is enough for most. From mass amounts of kitten media to mandatory karaoke nights, you can bet your bottom dollar that Mabel would have a say in many social matters and make healthcare available to all, because mental wellness is very important. Also, she's just so cute. I'm sure she would talk Congress into passing just about anything. Throw confetti at him, Mabel. Do your worst. It's also good to mention that Mabel was once a campaign advisor. Remember when Grunkle Stan was running for mayor of Gravity Falls and they mind-controlled him through the use of his lucky tie? Not the most honest of stories, but it's always good to have your foot in the White House door. Number 6, Kang and Kodos Johnson from The Simpsons. To understand politics, you have to be involved. You have to be involved in actively working towards your presidency. This happened for the clever reptilians Kang and Kodos, Bill Clinton and Bob Dole, in the Simpsons episode Treehouse of Horror 7, Citizen Kang. Well, only for Kang, as he was subsequently elected president and proceeded to enslave all of humanity. All in all, they've got good presidential qualities. For instance, they maintain an affectionate public image, and they certainly tricked all of Earth with their monotone assertions. Unlike most politicians, they know how and where to bury their secrets, and when the cat's out of the bag, they expose just how rigged the system is. And if you don't agree with this choice, you can choose to vote for a third party. Go ahead, throw away your vote. Number 5, Jake the Dog from Adventure Time. You've got to admit, this past election season has left us all in a bit of civil fatigue. So to have a president with a sense of humor and an appreciation for all things food, it's a breath of fresh air. Now, you might wonder, what about his diplomacy? What are the issues Jake might tackle? He could improve mental wellness by a couple of decimals, I suppose, especially with his lovely gift of playing music. He's also shown his tactical side in episodes like Card Wars and Compy's Castle, where he takes exceptionally challenging games very seriously, to the point of outrage. These types of qualities would come in handy in the context of national security and crime and safety. After all, he and Finn are the heroes of Ooo, and protect many kingdoms, from democracies to dictatorships, from any evil or wrongdoing. Also, a good story for the campaign trails would be Jake being saved by Abraham Lincoln, King of Mars, who was later killed and sent to the 37th Dead World. Yes, the most favorable president accidentally risked his life to save a nominee. So inspirational, so poignant. Number 4, Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty. It's always a positive indication that someone running for president has accomplished some previous political experience. In Rick's case, it's creating a miniature universe with intelligent life and having strong diplomatic ties to the president of the miniverse. Also, establishing the grand gesture of peace among worlds. Suckers. But really, with a great man like Rick taking over the seat of the Oval Office, we could see vast improvements in foreign policy. Not with China or Russia, but planets! We would just have to ignore his criminal record. That's assault, cable piracy, driving under the influence, vandalism, felony murder, breaking and entering, smuggling, terrorism, and treason. I'm sure the press can make that sound a little less serious than it sounds. Or he can invent a device to wipe our memories. In that case, we'll just all have to be sheep. Number 3, Brian from Family Guy. When you vote for Brian, it's pretty clear what you're gonna get. A full-fledged Democrat with a dropout Ivy League education and an Iraqi war veteran. Okay, that last part wasn't by choice, but there's still some brownie points for that. Brian is a firm believer in the separation of church and state, legalizing marijuana, and increasing gun control. In regards to global warming, he drives a Prius, which is known for its progressive environmental impact. All in all, he seems like a pretty reasonable candidate. However, if you're no leftist, you can take comfort in knowing that Brian did stalk Rush Limbaugh for quite some time and identified as a Republican. In Family Guy's excellence in broadcasting, he took a trip with Limbaugh to the National Republican headquarters in Washington, D.C., and met former President George W. Bush and Senator John McCain to affirm his conservatism, which was later debunked by his honest reaction to the thought of a child receiving the death penalty. So while you might be a no-nonsense traditionalist, you'll feel pretty good knowing a vote for Brian is a vote for both parties. Also, I would just look forward to the bomb memoir he's obligated to write based on his presidency. Just saying. Number 2, Peridot from Steven Universe. Technicality is key for any presidential candidate. That's why, when it boils down to numbers, Peridot would be the perfect choice for implementing economic law and order. She prioritizes logic, reason, and objectivity above emotions, which would make her ideal in making executive decisions and calculating the tedious things like taxes and budgets and spending, because who else would enjoy doing those things? She's no Roosevelt as far as talks go, but she does have the thoughtful intention of protecting and making Earth better. Now, this doesn't dismiss the rest of the crystal gems from government participation. You've always got party cabinets, and I'm sure Pearl would have a lot to suggest in regards to just about everything. Also, the most impractical laws would be dismissed. In New York, citizens may not greet each other by putting one thumb to the nose and wiggling the fingers. Yeah, no, that one's just not gonna fly. Clods. And number 1, Plankton from SpongeBob SquarePants. Now look, we in no way support the idea of a dictatorship, but Plankton makes a small exception. He's very intelligent and devoted, plainly, as we see those qualities with his plans to steal the Krabby Patty secret formula. If we substituted that for nuclear codes, there would be something clearly wrong. But Plankton's not after nuclear codes. Nevertheless, if he simply decreed that the Krusty Krab would go out of business, it would be smooth sailing from then on out, and there'd be no need to take over the world. What I'm trying to get at is that you should have no fear. If you have more of a socialist position in your politics, Plankton is the way to go, because we know the biggest capitalist of them all lived right across the street and bullied him for much of his life. So I can't imagine Plankton sticking to those ideals. Maybe he would take that pent-up anger and use it for a dogmatic justice. We're hopeful, but who else could we choose as a loud, obnoxious, and heavily opinionated candidate with stubby tiny hands? Oh, wait. Hey guys, thanks for watching the top 10 cartoon characters for president. Which ones would you elect? What other ones should have made the list? Let us know in the comments. And if you like this video, make sure to hit subscribe so you can catch all of our latest videos. And remember, Frederator loves you.